Yo, this will talk E. Welcome to the locker room. We talk nothing but basketball. If you want to be part of the locker room, you obviously have to be part of the team. In order for you to be part of the team, you have to subscribe and share the video to not only be part of the team in the locker room, but to also be a part of our daily basketball conversation so that you don't miss nights of basketball like this. Now, yesterday in the league, there were like 2 games going on. I am sick and tired of the NBA having 13 games one night and then only having 2 games the next night. Like, stop dragging on the season. You know these games are supposed to be whack. However, they're only good because every team is still fighting for seeding right now, somehow, some way. So somehow the league got lucky with still having these games be entertaining. But a lot of fans are not tuning in to these games. They're tuning in to March Madness. There's a lot of other things going on right now that a lot of other leagues are having, and players and teams are really like not entertaining right now, like in the NBA. But last night's games, we had the Clippers go up against the Pelicans. That was our first game of the night. Well, that's the first game I'm gonna be talking about tonight. It was the last game, but for me, I feel like this game was more important because one, the between the Clippers and the Pelicans, it was one game. So if the Clippers would have won this, they would tie the Suns and be tied for 4 seed, probably even take it. Cause I think they have the game tiebreaker against the Suns. If they lose, then they pretty much drop down to 6, and the Warriors get 5, and the Pelicans I think jump up to 7. So last night's game was very very important in terms of seeding and playing and stuff like that. So to start it off, first quarter, we had Brandon Ingram come out and he basically had 9 points in the first quarter. And he would just like look unstoppable. And I always say this: when Brandon Ingram really wants to score, not too many people are gonna stop him, if anyone's gonna stop him at all. It's just the way he scores, and he's really like built like a long body, so it's hard to stop somebody like that. He's quick, he's efficient, he gets to his spots, he doesn't just chuck up stuff like shots and stuff like that. And then as a team, the whole Pelicans team delivered last night. It was a little back and forth between Kawhi and Brandon Ingram, and this is what I wanted to see. Obviously, they did not guard each other the entire game. The game wasn't that serious. If it was the playoffs, then probably. But what ended up happening was a 40-point Kawhi game and a 36-point Brandon Ingram game. But the way BI scored was more effective to the team, and you felt it more than the 40 points from Kawhi. We get to the second quarter, and really this is when Brandon Ingram kind of cooled off. He had like, I believe, 5 points in this quarter, but the entire Pelicans team started hitting their threes. Trey Murphy ended the game with like 19. CJ ended the game with like 19, and he had like 5 assists. There's a lot of passing going on. The Pelicans kind of like did their thing. And then you look at the Clippers, and to be honest with you, it was a lot of ISOs. It was a lot of Kawhi heavy. Like, and I know I said last video that I want Kawhi to stop having 12-point games, and I need him to start having like 30, 40-point dominant games in order for this Clippers team to start winning more games. But the problem is, like, not like yesterday. We're going to need him to be more efficient. Plus, Norman Powell came yesterday's game, and he basically had 2 points. I don't know what happened. I don't even remember seeing him the rest of the game. Hopefully he's not injured. But 2 points is crazy. It's literally insane. I didn't see Sham or Woj tweet about it or say anything about it. So I'm guessing he's not injured. But 2 points is like insane. Like, for him to be the second or third best scorer on this team, for him to have only 2 points, you can see how that came back to hurt the Clippers and how they lost. Because obviously Kawhi can have 40, but that's not the end all be all. He also had 8 rebounds with 4 assists, actually. And Westbrook had like 24 and 9 assists, which honestly, I'm really happy for Westbrook, because when he was on the Lakers, nobody wanted him. And everybody kept saying, oh, it's over for Westbrook. Westbrook is a ball hog. Westbrook is a shot shucker. Westbrook is this, he's that. Once he got to the Clippers, obviously they utilize him more and they value him more than the Lakers. But it's also hurt the team a little bit in terms of like players at the level of Terrence Mann, who was a very valuable piece for them to start off. And I'm always against having too many vets in the starting lineup, especially if they have not been playing together for a long time. Like if it's Steph, Clay, and Draymond, it's fine because they've been playing together for like decades. they've won championships with each other and stuff like that. So that's understandable. But when you have 3 veterans, try to play together on the starting lineup, I don't always think that's a great idea. Like, I think the young guys are very, very, very important for a team. As we can tell with the Warriors, once they started Jonathan Kuminga and they have like a couple of other young guys started and they gave Jordan Poole a lot of minutes, they started winning again. And now we see with the Clippers. Now, they've lost to the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. They're on a 2-game losing streak. If the Clippers lose again, they're down to the play-in. And if they are in the play-in, I believe they face the Lakers in the first round of the play-in. That'll be interesting to watch. To also see the Pelicans go up against the Kings in the first round, that'll be interesting to watch. I mean, it's very, very exciting to see a lot of these games that are going on right now. Besides the bottom, I want to say 2 teams in the top 10, I feel like any team could get it. Any team could make it out of the West. And then we get to the third quarter, the second half, and this is when Brandon Ingram really took it over. He took the whole entire game into his hands. He pretty much scored 21 points in the second half. Now, that was insane. To go from 14 to 36 in the second half is crazy. And Kawhi had 12 points in the fourth quarter. To be honest with you, I didn't even know he had 28 points by the end of the third quarter. I was so focused on Brandon Ingram because his buckets were just so much louder and so much more impactful that, for me, honestly, it just felt like there's no way the Pelicans are going to lose no matter what. And the crazy thing is that the Pelicans were down. In the beginning of the game, they were down by 10 points, 7 points. And then we get to the end of the half and they're only down by 1. And then in the third quarter is when they take their lead. It was a couple of possessions in a row where they got a couple of stops. And then a couple of buckets from Trey Murphy, Jonas Valanciunas, who also had 23 points with 12 boards. And Brandon Ingram, obviously, who went off in the second half last night. And we get to the fourth quarter because this is when it really mattered, because this is where the Clippers had one last chance to make a push. And to be honest with you, pretty much around the third quarter, it was tied a lot. It was 77-77. And then at certain points, 85-85. So when we got to the fourth quarter, I was like, this is anybody's game. And that's not what ended up happening. The Pelicans got a couple of stops, and they got to the basket. I believe they only had 7 turnovers the entire game, 2 in the second half. That's really, really, really good, because going up against the Clippers team that actually plays crazy defense, to have only 2 turnovers in the second half just says a lot about your offense and how controlled you are. And then the passing too. The passing is insane, because a lot of turnovers come from passing. Players would just pass thinking their teammate's there and they're not there, or it would be a bad pass your teammate couldn't catch. But to only have 2 turnovers in the half is really good, because it shows that everybody's clicking, everybody is on the same page. And if on the Clippers side, they try to make their last push, they get it to Kawhi a whole bunch of times. Kawhi scored a whole bunch of times. He scored 12 points, like I said, in the fourth quarter. But it just wasn't all the way there for him. Even though he ended the game with 42, I felt like the rest of the team just wasn't there. It was not clicking. And usually the Clippers bench comes out to help, but last night both benches honestly were not all the way there. They were not great. To be honest with you, I think besides Norman Powell having 2 points, I think that the Clippers bench was another weakness for them. And then it's just after the loss, now it's what is next for the Clippers? Are they going to make the play-in? Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to be able to escape the play-in? What is going to happen with them? Because they have a lot of things going on. And when is Paul George going to be back? Because, I know he's injured, but when do they reevaluate him to bring him back? Because clearly Kawhi cannot do it by himself. And even though he had Westbrook that helped him with 24, it just was not enough. Something happened with the Norman Powell disappeared. We got a whole APV out for him. So when is Paul George coming back? And when do they plan on reevaluating him? We have 4 games left in the season for every team, max 5. So it's how many games is he going to get under his belt? Or is he going to come in the first round of the playoffs and just try to speed up the process? I mean, it's possible, but I feel like that could hurt the Clippers more than it will help them. And now, next game of the night, we had the Mavericks go up against the Heat. And I'm not even going to speak about the Mavericks defense anymore. I speak about it every time I talk about the Mavericks. The defense is garbage, is horrendous, is like trash, terrible, like every other synonym. We all know that. So I'm not going to waste my time speaking about that anymore. They need to find a way to fix it. I mean, I called it out before they even made this trade for Kyrie. And I guess that the team and the front office just had a different vision than the rest of the world. I guess they just thought they were right and everybody else was wrong, and clearly it's the other way around. You have two guards that don't play defense, and then the whole rest of the team does not play defense. The two players that you have that play defense are mid. They're not stopping anybody. Like before, Luka used to have 40 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and the Mavericks would win. They needed games like that from Luka to win. Now he has 40 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and they still lose. Last night they lost 129 to like 121 or 122, and to be honest with you, it was embarrassing. They went up against the Heat, and pretty much the entire way after the first quarter, the Heat were up by like 15 points. The entire way. It was like no less than a dozen. And then we get to, the end of the third quarter, and this is when they start to cut it down. They cut the lead down to like 6 points, 9 points, and it just was not enough. Their defense is so terrible that at a certain point, the Heat weren't even guarding them. They were just going bucket for bucket. And to not only like talk about how bad their defense is a lot, but it's also like you look at the Heat starters, right? Bam Adebayo didn't play. Kyle Lowry was not even starting yesterday. And they had Cody Zeller come out and give them 20 points. Jimmy Butler had 35. But Jimmy Butler, he's going to have his points whenever he wants to, or whenever he needs to have his points. Tyler Hill had a bad game. Still ended up with 15. Like, Max Strus with 18 points. Like, when does defense come into play? When do you play defense? It's like the Heat, every time they missed, it was nothing to do with the Mavericks. It was literally just the Heat, like, just having a bad shot. They just missed a shot, which is going to happen. You're not going to make 100% of your shots. And for a while, the Heat were shooting 57 to like 60% from the field. If any team is shooting 57 to 60% from the field, you're not going to win that game at all. Kyrie came out and he had like 23 points, 24 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. with 31. He had like 3 or 4 threes in the first quarter. About like 6 for the game. Like, the scoring is there. The offense is there. And then you had Christian Wood come off the bench, and he had a decent game. Again, he's another player that doesn't play defense. And it's just like the Heat could attack whoever they want. And to be honest with you, if Bam Adebayo was there, the Heat defense would have been even better. And this win would have been probably like 129 to like 110, 105. It's just hard to play without the anchor of your defense. And if they could find a way to bring him back before the next game, the Heat are really in a good position to get the Knicks. I mean, we all know they want to play the Knicks in the first round. They don't want to play the Sixers or the Celtics or the Bucks. So, they're going to have to catch up to the Nets and then take the Nets spot, which, by the way, they lost to the Nets. Mikal Bridges went off for another 40 piece, which was insane. But back to this game, though, if you are allowing even Kevin Love to come off the bench and give you 18 points. By the way, I don't think Kevin Love came off the bench for this Heat team since he got there. And last night he had 11 points in 6 minutes. Ends the game with 18. If you can't even stop Kevin Love, or at least stop him from getting 18, or anything above 15, you're not going to win that game. It's too many players that are outscoring you, too many players that are just, you have 3 guys on your team that are going off for 30, 20, and 40, and then everyone else on the other team has like 18, 20 points combined, and then one guy with 35. Like, you're going to lose that game. It's just how it works. if scoring is more spread out, you're just gonna win the game more than if it's one guy going off for 80. And one last thing before I close out the video. I mean, to be honest with you, yes, the Heat did all that, and yes, all those things, matter to a game. But the most important thing that really helped the Heat win is the first quarter defense, which I said before. Like, after the first quarter, the Heat were pretty much up by like 15 points the entire time. And in the first quarter, they outscored the Mavericks 44 to like 30 points. So from there on, even if the Mavericks outscored them in all three of the other quarters, they didn't outscore them by much. It was like by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. So it just was not going to help them win. And as we can tell, it didn't work out. Mavericks lost. They're just on a terrible losing streak right now. They lost to the Hornets like twice. They're down to 11th seed. They're pretty much out of the play-in. I mean, they need a lot of help, a lot of rebuilding. I don't know if they're even going to make the play-in. If the Thunder make it over the Mavericks, that'll be insane. But anyways, that's enough of me rambling and chatting. It's time for you to let me know what y'all think down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. This is Real Talk with Ian. It's time to leave the locker room. I'm going to catch y'all. Safety.
Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The officials have to review it. And the Lakers win the game. Banks it in. He banks in the three to win it. Good. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. This is for the win. Got it. Wow. At 7, working against Butler, got down.